History according to Tyler Durden. I remember the day I decided the world needed a wake-up call, not some polished History Channel drivel spoon-fed to keep you numb on your particle board couches. Picture this: I'm flipping channels in my dingy apartment, insomnia gnawing at me like a bad itch, the kind that keeps you staring at the ceiling, replaying every scam from my old insurance gig. Suddenly, there's this narrator droning on about heroes in the shadows, turning Charles Lucky Luciano into some patriotic saint. Redemption, my ass. That's when I snapped. If they wouldn't tell the real story, I would. I'd crashed their party, metaphorically speaking, though knowing me, it could have been literal with a bar of soap and a match. Oh, the irony. Me, the guy who once spliced single frames of porn into family films, just to watch suburban moms clutch their pearls, now hijacking history itself. Because nothing says wake up like turning a sanitized dock into a rant fest of corporate and criminal absurdities. So imagine me bursting into that sterile studio, leather jacket reeking of rebellion, pink soap in hand like a grenade, ready to cleanse the bullshit. The narrator's mid sentence, all smooth and corporate, waxing poetic about Operation Underworld. Luciano protected the docks, he says. Ha, protected. Like how my bosses protected shareholders by denying crash claims. I shove him aside, grab the mic, and let it rip. Redemption? That's the lullaby they sing while picking your pockets, space monkeys. I learned this crap the hard way, cubicle hell, crunching numbers for suits who let families burn in defective cars because settlements were cheaper than recalls. Gossip in the break room called me crazy for questioning it. Slander whispering I was the office weirdo. The office weirdo who couldn't even score a date because his life was as empty as a half-assembled IKEA bookshelf. But Luciano, oh boy, that's where the absurdity kicks in, like a bad blind date between gangsters and spies, where the spies show up with briefcases full of secrets, and the gangsters bring Tommy guns disguised as party favors. Let's unpack this mob government tango with more grit than the History Channel dares, and a dash of irony for flavor, because nothing's funnier than the U.S. Navy courting a convict like a desperate prom date. It all sparked in February 1942, when the French liner Normandy, being refitted for troop transport, bursts into flames and capsizes in New York Harbor. Sabotage whispers flies, Union trouble. The Navy's paranoid, so they tap underworld channels. Enter Meyer Lansky, Luciano's sharp Jewish right hand, acting as the go-between. Luciano's rotting in Dannemora for his prostitution empire, but he nods, mobilizes his capos to watchdog the docks. Longshoremen unions under mob sway sniff out spies, no more mysterious fires or vanishing workers. It's effective, absurdly so, like hiring foxes to guard the henhouse, while pretending it's a wildlife conservation effort. Then Sicily ramps up Operation Husky in July 43. Debates rage on how much Lucky really helped. Some say his Sicilian contacts were overhyped, yellow handkerchiefs on tanks more legend than logistics, but the Allies roll in smoother than expected. Mafia dons greeting them as liberators from Mussolini's boot. Historians quibble. Was it pivotal or just convenient? But the result? Invasion succeeds, paving the road to Rome, all while Luciano smirks from his cell, probably thinking, see? Crime pays, especially when Uncle Sam foots the bill. His payoff, paroled February 1946, after commuting his 30 to 50-year sentence. Deported on the Laura Keene ship to Italy, where he lands in Naples like a king in exile. No banishment blues, he rebuilds his empire, forging heroin routes from Turkey through Sicily to the U.S., flooding streets with smack, while the five families solidify back home. Genovese takes his old crew. Gambino rises, all under the commission he helped birth post-Coast Castellamarese War in the 30s. I heard expanded yarns and bars. Luciano's invaluable service stayed murky, parole papers sealed, but whispers tied it to post-war ops like Gladio, IA using mafia against communists. It's a tangled web, not a tidy hierarchy, networks of power, from waterfront thugs to DC desks, all denying the dance while stepping on your toes. Absurd like my insurance days. Execs outsourcing denials to algorithms, claiming it's just math while families grieve. But here's the clever twist. Luciano didn't just secure docks. He orchestrated a merger where crime became a government contractor, bidding on sabotage prevention like a shady plumber, fixing leaks with more leaks. And me? I was the office plumber, flushing away claims to keep the corporate pipes clean, all while my own life clogged with regret. The irony piles on. Luciano's exile turns into empire building, heroin flowing like cheap wine at a mob wedding, while back home the five families divvy up New York like slices of a pizza that's half burnt from the Normandy fire. Genovese, the cunning fox, maneuvers through the 50s, surviving assassination attempts and power grabs, while Gambino plays the long game, turning the commission into a boardroom of bosses where disputes get settled with votes instead of bullets most of the time. Columbo stirs up civil rights facades, Lucchese dabbles in garment rackets, Bonanno goes rogue with his own plots. It's clever how the structure mimics corporate hierarchies, territories like franchises, all while the OSS morphs into CIA in 47, inheriting the mob's playbook for covert ops. Gladio? That's the European sequel. Stay behind armies stocked with mafia muscle to counter Soviet threats, funded by black market cigs and drugs. I chuckle at the humor. America fights fascism by partnering with criminals, then fights communism the same way. Like my job, fighting liability by creating more victims. All in the name of profit. The slander I endured. Coworkers calling me paranoid for seeing the patterns. But Luciano's web was the original conspiracy board. Pins connecting docks to DC, heroin to covert funds. But that's just the muscle, the street theater with Tommy guns and fedoras. The brain. Banks, God banks. Those zombie accountants shuffling papers while the world crumbles. Their ties crisp as fresh laundered money. I saw it up close in insurance. Execs rigging books, justifying deadly shortcuts with shrugs. Gotta hit quotas, they'd say. Everyone does it. Pressure, loopholes, lies, learned in boardrooms like mob hits in alleys, but with PowerPoint instead of pistols. Dig deeper into 2008's mess. It brewed from the 90s deregulation. Graham Leach Bliley Act scrapping Glass-Steagall, letting banks gamble like casinos on a Vegas strip where the house always wins. But the house is your house foreclosed. Subprime loans explode, predatory lending to folks who couldn't afford, bundled into collateralized debt obligations, rated AA by complicit agencies like Moody's playing rating roulette. When housing bubbles pop in 2007, defaults cascade like dominoes in a windstorm. Bear Stearns folds first in March '08, then Lehman in September. AIG teeters on trillions in credit default swaps. Government swoops with TARP, $700 billion bailout, propping up giants like Citigroup, Bank of America, while Main Street drowns in unemployment. Zombie banks emerge. Insolvent husks on life support per Fed analyses, few in number, mostly manufacturing and retail drags, sucking resources without innovation, like corporate vampires in three-piece suits. Settlements drag on like a bad hangover. JP Morgan's $13 billion in 2013 for mortgage fraud, no guilt admitted. Wells Fargo's billions for fake account scandal, creating ghost customers to hit sales targets, all while execs pocket bonuses bigger than my entire paycheck history. Global scale. IMF bails out nations like Greece in 2010, imposing austerity that crushes pensions and jobs, turning sovereign debt into a noose. They conjure cash from air, fractional reserves inflating away your savings, keeping you in debt slavery forever chasing the American dream that's really a nightmare scripted by bankers. I learned this drowning in my own mortgage for a condo full of wobbly tables, mocking me like failed relationships, lamps casting shadows longer than my patience. The humor. Banks too big to fail, but small enough to fail you, bailing out with your taxes while you bail water from your sinking life. Clever irony. The same system that merged mob and government now merges commerce and catastrophe. CDOs like mob hits, silent, deadly, untraceable until the body drops. My life was that body drop, empty buying lamps that dimmed my soul, no connections, just agitation boiling over like a forgotten pot on a stove. Insomnia twisted me into knots, support groups my escape, crying with strangers faking ailments, feeling alive amid the fake sympathy and real tears. That's where Marla crashed in, all smoke and sarcasm, the storm that woke me with her cynical jabs, turning my rage into something sharper, like a knife honed on the edge of absurdity. She'd laugh at the scam, saying, Tyler, your condo full of crap is just a mini bank bailout, propping up your ego while it collapses. But the suits, untouchable, gliding through scandals like ghosts in a haunted boardroom. Society slaps labels, them visionaries, me disgruntled employee. Gossip persecuted me, heartache from the void turning whispers into wounds, but it forged this truth. It's all connected. Mob muscle feeding banker brains in a ridiculous scam where the punchline is your poverty. Then there's the Rothschild yarn, old bar chestnut, half-drunk folklore, expanded with the ugly underbelly I uncovered in late-night digs, because nothing's more ironic than a family myth, outlasting the family itself. Roots in Mayer Amschel Rothschild, born 1744 in Frankfurt's cramped Judengasse ghetto, starting as a coin dealer before loaning to princes during the chaotic Napoleonic Wars. He sends his 5 sons like arrows across Europe, Nathan to London, James to Paris, Salomon to Vienna, Karl to Naples, Amschel staying home to mind the fort. Nathan's London branch hits pay dirt post-Napoleon, lending to Britain for reconstruction after Waterloo, helping stabilize the economy with bond issues, and even influencing early gold standard policies through advisory roles. But the 1815 Waterloo libel, oh, that's the clever poison pill, born in 1840s French pamphlets by hacks like Georges D'Erneville, amplified in anti-Semitic tracts like The Rothschilds, Kings of the Jews, claiming Nathan used speedy couriers to fake a British defeat, crash consoles in the London Stock Exchange, then buy low before victory news spikes price. No proof whatsoever, debunked by historians as hate-fueled fiction, a distraction from real economic shifts like the Industrial Revolution's finance needs. The Bank of England, chartered in 1694 as a private entity to fund wars, it gets nationalized in 1946 under Labour. Rothschilds might have advised on net debt management, but never owned, like some Illuminati puppet show. The myth's humor? It's the ultimate red herring, labeling one Jewish family as world puppeteers, while ignoring the broader web of banking cartels, private-public hybrids like the Federal Reserve, founded 1913 with banker input on its board, printing money and setting rates that inflate your dreams away. Clever, isn't it? Blame the Rothschilds for market manipulations, when every crash from 1929's Black Tuesday to 2008's subprime meltdown follows the same script: deregulation, greed, bailout. Rothschilds did finance railways across Europe in the 1800s, merging capital with progress, but myths turned that into conspiracy gold. I see the irony in my own life, buying into consumer myths, particle board empires collapsing under their own weight, while real power brokers laugh from their gilded towers. Luciano's Tangle, Bank Zombies, Elite Libels. It's one big, laughable heist, a comedy of errors where the errors are your erased savings and mobbed up foreign policy. I learned it choking on corporate air, support tears washing illusions. Marla's chaos clarifying the joke like a punchline delivered with a cigarette drag. She'd say, Tyler, your fight clubs are just group therapy for the scammed punching faces to forget punched wallets. But expand the absurdity. Luciano's heroin empire post-deportation ties directly to the CIA's alleged tolerance, as declassified docs hint at mob assets in Cold War skirmishes. The French Connection. Corsican gangs refining opium into heroin, shipped by a Sicilian ports Luciano controlled, landing in New York harbors his old crew still patrolled. By the 50s, it's a billion-dollar flood, fueling jazz clubs and junkie alleys, while the five families feud in style, the Profaci Gallo War in the 60s turning Brooklyn into a bullet ballet. Genovese plots from prison, Gambino plays kingmaker, all under the commission's veneer of order, like a mob vetoing hits to keep peace. Clever how it mirrors banks. Commissions like boards, territories like market shares, disputes settled in back rooms instead of courtrooms. And banks, don't get me started on the extended remix. The Sandal crisis of the 80s, over 1,000 thrifts failing from junk bond bets, costing taxpayers $124 billion in bailouts, set the stage for 2008's encore. Deregulation under Reagan let them play fast and loose, much like Luciano's post-war freedom. Then 1999's Graham Leach Bliley axes the last barriers, birthing megabanks like Citigroup, which by 2007 hold trillions in off-balance sheet risks. Subprimes, lenders like New Century pushing no-doc loans, liar loans, where income's as fictional as my support group ailments. CDOs tranche the trash into safe slices, sold to pensions and foreigners, while credit rating agencies stamp AA like rubber ducks in a bath. Crash hits. $8 trillion in housing wealth gone. 8 million jobs lost. Foreclosures spiking to 2.8 million in 2010. TARP morphs into endless QE. Fed balance sheet ballooning from $900 billion to $4.5 trillion by 2015, inflating stocks while real wages flatline. Zombies linger. BIS 2022 reports 15% of public firms undead, draining credit from healthy ones. Settlements. Theater. Goldman's $550 million in 2010 for abacus fraud, pocket change. Wells Fargo's 2018 $1 billion for auto insurance scams, faking policies like protection rackets. Irony? Banks regulate themselves via lobbying. $2.7 billion spent 2007 to 2012, ensuring the game's rigged. Rothschild expansions add layers of clever debunking. Post-Waterloo, Nathan's 1818 Prussian loan, and 1822 Austrian bonds show family synergy, brothers coordinating across borders like a 19th century Zoom call. But myths amplify. 1830s, French railroads funded by James de Rothschild, turning iron tracks into gold, Yet libels paint them as war profiteers, ignoring how they stabilized economies after revolutions. By 20th century, influence wanes, world wars erode fortunes. But advisory roles persist, like in Thatcher's privatizations. The red shield origin, mayor's house sign in Frankfurt, not some Illuminati symbol. Humor in the hate, anti Semites twist philanthropy into control plots, while real scams like Enron's 2001 collapse echo without a Jewish scapegoat. Clever distraction, like my bosses blaming market forces for denied claims while pocketing bonuses. This history, according to me, Tyler Durden, isn't just facts, it's a mirror to your chains, a comedic tragedy where mobsters become patriots, banks become zombies, and myths become shields for the elite. From Luciano's docks burning like my illusions to bank bailouts sinking your future. It's network screwing the little guy with a smile. My cubicle taught me, fight or fold. I chose fight, soap bombs for cleansing, film splices for jolts, clubs where pain wakes you from the consumer coma. Marla showed me laughter in the madness, her sarcasm a weapon sharper than fists. Burn your illusions, space monkeys. Start with that wobbly table, end with the system. The scam's real. Your rebellion starts now, or stay the punchline in their endless joke. Fight Club created by Chuck Palahniuk.